A quote is an outstanding way to begin your introduction. But why would you want to start your essay with a sentence from somebody else who was smart and famous? Because it makes you seem smart and famous. The impression that the reader has about the speaker will be transferred to your essay. So a quote is simply a sentence that you've taken from somewhere else. When you use a quote in your introduction, you're going to look for one or maybe two short sentences said by someone famous or qualified on your topic, and it's usually a sentence that's kind of witty or insightful or even ironic that makes the reader smile. It's a little different than the way we've used quotes other places. When we've said quote in the body of your essay, this is a sentence of evidence that you've taken from a textbook or a novel or a research book. Those kind of quotes in the body of your essay, those have facts and statistics and evidence, and they're a little more serious and clinical. The quotes in your introduction are more lighthearted and fun. Also, don't mix these quotes up from dialogue. When you're reading a novel and someone speaks and those words are in quotation marks, that's dialogue. That's something that a character says. These quotes can be something that a famous person said or wrote. You're just borrowing those words and putting quotation marks around them. Now, a quote is not limited to something that a famous person said. It can be any sentence that you've taken from somewhere else. It can be a line from a poem. It can be a lyric from a song. It can be a Bible verse. Some writers even use a dictionary definition, but I consider that kind of clumsy, and I don't advise it. Quotes are often easy to find. Just do a web search for your topic and quotes. And there are lots of websites that just list tons of famous quotes by famous people on almost any topic. When you use a quote, put the quote first in your introduction. Put the speaker second. You want the full impact of the quotation to come first, and then you can tell who said it second. Here's an example. Education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught, wrote Oscar Wilde. In a future step, we'll talk about how the transition comes after the hook in the introductory paragraph. If you've opened with a quote, just know that the sentence after the quote should explain the quote. So in your transition, you're probably going to tell your reader what the quote means or what the quote has to do with your topic. The concluding paragraph is going to have one sentence that links back to the hook. If you've opened with a quote, you have a couple different choices. My favorite is to find another quote by the same speaker. So it's going to sound something like this. Oscar Wilde also wrote, "Experience is simply the name we give our mistakes." A second choice is to find a quote from a different speaker, but it's on the same topic, especially if it kind of sounds similar. So if we've still opened with our Oscar Wilde quote, we can conclude with something like this. G.K. Chesterton also wrote about education, saying that it is simply the soul of a society as it passes from one generation to another. If you can't find another quote by the same speaker or even another speaker, you can just refer back to your original quote. You can reuse a key word or phrase that will remind your reader about your initial quote. Again, taking the Oscar Wilde statement, you can conclude with something like, "Teachers must still remember that anything worth knowing must be learned through experience in the real world." So try using a quote in your introduction. It's kind of like you had someone famous endorsing your essay.